Hi there, it's Fionna Gossling from Royal LePage with a quick update as to what happened in Burlington real estate in January 2025. So this graph is not that useful right now because it's only 1 month. But when we reflect on what happened in 2024, you can see that Burlington prices are back to where they were in 2021, 2023. They're still a little bit below that 2022 high point, but a large part of that is because of that peak. And then the latter part of 2022, we saw a reduction in prices. So when you look at everything as a whole, it is still the second best time in Burlington history to sell a house when it comes to prices. And then this chart, these are all on my website if you want to have a closer look. But basically, I like this one because it illustrates that although prices will go up and down each month, there is a trajectory that it is showing, and I believe that prices are on the rise. I think what's been happening is sellers have been sitting on the sidelines for quite a while. It has been relatively unaffordable or very unaffordable with interest rates being so high and prices being high. But with interest rates coming down, it is improving the affordability and prices are starting to increase. So people have been sitting on the sidelines because they actually need to make a move or want to make a move. Now is a good time to be doing that. And there's real opportunity out there for those who are serious about doing a buy or a sell. So what we saw in January, we had 139 sales, which is kind of about normal for January. January and December are typically very slow months in real estate. And then our spring market tends to start around March. We had 474 units to choose from, which works out to 3.4 months of inventory. And the average sale price was 1.1, which was up from December last month. And still a little bit lower than what we saw in November. So with only 139 sales, those numbers are going to fluctuate. What's more important is the trend. If you compare this January to last January, we had 3% more sales, but that's only 5 difference, so it's pretty flat. We had way more active listings. And what's interesting with that is normally that puts pressure on prices to come down. But in this case, we actually saw a 14% price increase year over year when you're comparing the Januaries. So that is quite interesting. And it took about the same amount of time to sell a house, or on average, 43 days. Of course, those averages are looking at condos, townhouses, and detached homes. So depending on what it is you're trying to buy or sell or interested in, it's important to break down those averages. So we saw 61 detached homes sell in the month, and there are 186 to choose from. So that's 3 months of inventory. That's creeping into a balanced market there. And the average sale price was 1.533. And it was taking about 38 days to sell a detached home. Townhouses, also 3.2 months of inventory, average sale price 935,000. And then condos, a little bit more inventory, 4.1 months of inventory there, and the average sale price was 656,000 for the average sale price, and it's taking longer, 55 days on average to sell. So January, we had 61 sales. And when you compare that to kind of October and November, that is quite low, but up from December. And I think that tracks. December is a very slow month unless you need to be buying or selling. You're probably not out focusing on that. And then the average sale price did jump up, which is quite interesting. And it's jumped up from October and November as well, which tells me there were probably some big sales that happened in there, or a bigger sale that happened in there. If you're looking at the condo market here, our average sale price is kind of floating around that kind of 650 range and fluctuating there. 43 sales, which is exactly what we had in October and November. So that's quite good. It's pretty flat. All of these stats, I just did the Oakville stats as well. Everything is very boring and very flat. If you price a house properly, it will sell, assuming you have priced it and staged it right and exposed it to the market properly. Um, People are getting reasonable money for things, and there is opportunity out there, particularly in this condo market right now. I think that there's opportunity for buyers who have been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a good deal. You can't time the market, but I would venture to guess now's a pretty good time to try to get in there if you've been sitting on the sidelines. Um, and then finally, this is the townhouse sales. So not a ton of sales, only 35 units sold, which is quite low from October, November, more busy real estate times. And the average sale price did jump up. So that's nice. 935,000 was the average price of a townhouse in Burlington in January. So if you had any specific questions about what's going on, please don't hesitate to reach out. Until earlier this week, I was quite optimistic about the spring market being quite busy. And I do think that will still happen. I think we've had so much migration come in. Transactions have been so low for 3 years. People have been waiting on the sidelines. Now affordability has come into place. So there's definitely reason to believe that if you're a seller, there's going to be more buyers returning to the market. And I think that if you're a buyer waiting on the sidelines or trying to pick up an investment property or get kids into the market, this is probably a pretty good time to be out looking. Any questions? Don't hesitate to reach out, and I will check back in next month.